A few months ago, I switched away from Windows 11 and to Linux, but software support being what it is on Linux, there has been an occasion when I felt like I needed Windows. I temporarily needed it specifically for one reason. I recently just built a new gaming and content computer, but throwing CachyOS on it means that I was unable to update the firmware needed for my RX 9070 XT Steel Legend from ASRock, specifically to connect the ARGB software from the graphics card to the motherboard so that I could get everything synced up properly. Unfortunately, the only utilities available for this are Windows specific. They're EXEs and they're meant to work on a Windows system. So I had this conundrum where I was on Linux, but I don't have a second drive laying around to throw Windows on temporarily just to update this firmware. And I had the idea, is there a way to live boot Windows so that I can temporarily have a Windows environment, get everything done that I need to, and then to just pull out a USB? Linux is good at supporting live boot so that you can test out softwares, and a lot of their installation methods actually require you to temporarily live boot in the first place before you install the operating system in its full-blown manner. So looking into things, I went to see, is there a way to live boot Windows 11? And lo and behold, there definitely is. It does come with a few caveats, but I'll run you through exactly what I did and how you can do it for yourself. Unfortunately, in order to use this, we're using a piece of software called Rufus, and Rufus is great. The only downside in this particular use case is that it does require a Windows machine to run. So Rufus is a Windows specific piece of software. If you're familiar with Linux or self-hosting or tinkering with operating systems, you've likely heard of Rufus. What it is a utility that lets you create bootable media out of thumb drives. You basically download an ISO or an image, throw it onto the thumb drive, and then use Rufus to create a bootable and usable piece of media from it. So we're gonna be using Rufus in this video, particularly their Windows To Go option. So you're gonna need a few things. You're gonna need a thumb drive that is at least 32 gigabytes. You're gonna need Rufus, and you're gonna need a Windows ISO. You can get the Windows ISO by going to the Microsoft Download Windows 11 page. I'll have a link down in the description. And scroll down to the Windows 11 disk image section. Select Windows 11 in the dropdown and hit confirm. It may take a moment to validate your request, after which you will then be able to select your language in another dropdown, after which you will again hit confirm and wait for your request to be validated. Now you can download the 64-bit Windows 11 ISO. While that's downloading, go ahead and also grab Rufus. I'll have a link down below to their website. You're gonna wanna download the most recent version. After those are done downloading, plug in the USB device that you plan on using. Make sure that there isn't any data on this drive that you don't mind losing. If there is, go ahead and back that up really quick. Open up the rufus.exe that you just downloaded and make sure that you select your USB drive that you just plugged in. In the boot selection dropdown, choose disk or ISO image, if that is not the default already, and then hit select and navigate to the Windows ISO that you just downloaded. Now this is the important part. Under the image option dropdown, make sure that you select the Windows To Go option. If you do not select this, you will end up only creating an install drive for Windows, not a live bootable version. All of the rest of the settings can be left as their default values, but if you want to change the name of the volume, go ahead and do that now. When you have everything set up, go ahead and hit start. It will now ask you which version of Windows 11 you want to install, and Windows 11 Home is good for most use cases. Then Rufus again will give you some options of how you want the user experience to be. I like to select all of these options except for the create a local account option. This makes the experience a bit safer and more lightweight. Configure this how you would like and then continue through the setup. Be sure you're okay with deleting all of the files on your drive and then just wait for a few minutes for Rufus to do its thing. After that is done, just go ahead and eject your USB and plug it into your target computer. Now, the next step is gonna vary depending on what kind of computer you have, but once it's shut down, you turn it back on and you're gonna wanna enter either the BIOS or the boot menu. If you already know the hotkeys for that, awesome, just spam those when the computer is starting up. If not, go ahead and look it up so that you know what it is for your system. And just as a side note here, I don't have a capture card or a dedicated capture PC, so this footage is not the best, but hopefully you'll be able to follow on anyways. Once I'm in the BIOS, I'm gonna go to the boot menu and select the first partition on the USB drive that I insert, and this will boot into Windows. Note that this can take a long time. The first time I did this, it took upwards of 15 minutes to load into the Windows startup experience. Once it is done loading and you get into the start of the startup experience, then go ahead and hit Control-Shift-F3. This will skip the startup experience and give you the out-of-box Windows experience. This is usually done to prepare systems for imaging, but in our use case, we just load into the basic desktop environment with an admin user, and this should give us more than enough features and accessibility that we need. As a note, you won't have anything beyond the normal built-in drivers, so if for some reason you need advanced driver support for maybe multiple monitor setups, you're going to need to download the drivers and install them as you would on a fresh Windows install. From here, the world is your oyster. Poke around, do what you need to do, download what you need to download, update what you need to update. And the good news is that whenever you're done, if you just shut down your computer and pull out the USB, once you turn your computer on again, it will go through its normal boot sequence and into its normal operating system. I know this wasn't my usual content as I focus more on self-hosted services and things like that, but this was a use case that I ran into that I thought might be useful to other people. I hope you found this video interesting and or useful. If you did and want to check out more of my content, I recommend checking out the video I did about how to create a cheap game server on your own for less than some sort of subscription cloud hosted service. So go check that out. I'll have a link down in the description. And go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.